Hi everyone, Mrs. Scott here with our Eiffel Tower Cityscape that we started last week. So far you have drawn it with pencil and traced it with Sharpie, and hopefully you have gone through and erased any visible pencil lines. Go ahead and do that first if you haven't finished that up last week. And then this week we're going to move on to using the artist oil pastels that were in your new bag that was left in the vestibule for you. If you haven't picked it up yet, there is a box of oil pastels. So we're going to use those this week. Oil pastels are unique because they are softer than a crayon. They give very nice bold colors, and they provide a little bit faster coverage when you're coloring because of their thicker tip and the softness of the medium. You'll notice as you're coloring that it's a little easier to get more coverage because of the softness of the stick there. They're still a dry medium, so we don't have to wait for it to dry, even though we're getting these nice bold colors and able to move along a little bit faster with each space because of their softness and their broad tip. So because they have a broad tip, there are some details that are going to be a little bit difficult with this, but we're going to give it our best shot anyway, and just chalk up any little areas where you can't quite get in perfectly to just the style of using oil pastels instead of another medium. They do have a really cool effect when we're finished, and at the end of this tutorial I'm going to show you even how to use them to blend, which is a great part of using oil pastels. Actually, one of the best parts is that they blend well. So one thing you need to remember when you're coloring is that since these are softer, you will want to make sure that you're not dragging your hand across the top of the paper as you color. You don't want to rest your hand on a space you've already colored to color another space. Okay, they will smear and get on you. So instead, you're going to want to sort of use your inward arm here to rest on your table and kind of keep your hand raised up above the paper as you color. I already used that one, so let's move on. I'll try purple this time. All right, so as you keep your hand raised up when you're coloring, you're also going to want to think about where you're holding on to your paper. When you're using oil pastels, you can't just hold on in any old spot because you can smear them. So you want to make sure you're holding on in a white area for as long as you can until you get to that very last spot in your artwork, and then you can hold on to just one little corner that is already colored. For the most part, we want to make sure that we are holding on in a white area. So you're going to color along, and by the way, I didn't mention this, but there are no particular colors. You don't have to follow the colors I'm choosing for my buildings. You can choose your own colors, so have freedom in choosing those. I'm using my imagination. I have not very often seen a city filled with all these colored buildings, but it would be kind of fun. In some different parts of the world, they are much more colorful with their buildings for sure. So if you did a quick search around the world, you would see that in many other places, the buildings do get rather colorful. So I'm using my imagination with color. You can be more realistic if you want to, but I'm sticking with these bright, happy colors. One other tip I have is if you really have a hard time keeping your hand up while you color and still being able to do a nice, neat job, you can take a piece of paper, a scrap piece of paper, and just lay it down over your previously colored art and rest on that, and that way you're not resting on the project itself. So you can use what's called a cover sheet if you would like. All right, so that's about the coloring. I have a little more to do down here, but I'm going to move on now to showing you how to use the colors to blend. There's a couple different things you could do in the sky. Because I've used so many colors down here, I'm going to keep it simple with the sky, and I'm just going to use blue and white. I think. I may throw in something, you never know. If you went with more simplified colors or natural colors here in the city, then you might want to think about a sunset out here, which means that you could use red, orange, yellow, even pink. Gosh, there's no limit to the colors that you might find in a sunset. So, but because I've already used these colors, I want my sky to be different, so there's a little bit of contrast. Otherwise, it might get a little confusing to look at my picture if it's all equally colorful. All right, so what I'm going to do in my sky is I'm going to put down some blue first. And I'm going to go around my Eiffel Tower, and I'm going to let this be sketchy because I don't want my sky just to look completely flat. I want it to have a little bit of interest to it. So I'm going to let this be sketchy, and in some areas I'm going to press a little bit harder than others, and you'll see how with the oil pastels it creates kind of a smooth covered area when you do that, and then when you're lighter on it, it shows more of the paper through. So that's the way I'm going to color that part of the sky over there. And then I'm going to go back in with my white, and look what that's doing. That's really cool. Let me get this a little closer so you can see that more up close, if I can without my camera falling over. Sorry, guys. Okay, let me get this up close for you. There we go. So look what this does when I mix in white. I don't have to mix in white everywhere necessarily, but isn't that cool? It almost gives it a painted look, a painterly look, without having to use paint. Just that blending. And if I wanted to take it one more notch and just add a little bit of one other color, just for something interesting there, a little more variety, I could do that. And so then I have a really interesting textured sky that is different than the way my city looks. You can see that there. Hopefully that refocuses for you, yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to go back through, I'm not going to spend time coloring my whole sky right now, but you will. And you may come up with the question, what do I do about my Eiffel Tower? So here's what I think. I think that I would do these areas of the sky and then see what I think about my Eiffel Tower. Do I want to leave it with the white areas, even though that's not really the way the Eiffel Tower is? I could, because this is my artwork. And if I think that looks best, then I could leave these areas of the Eiffel Tower white. But if I think, you know, I think it really would look cool for the sky to be showing through all these cracks, then please feel free to go in between all these cracks of the black lines and do a little mixture of blue and white in there and see how that turns out, as if the sky is peeking through your Eiffel Tower architecture. So there's two options for how you would do that. You can leave these areas white, or you can color them in as if they're sky, which might take a bit longer, but it could be worth it all the more. So I hope you have fun with this project and learning to use your new oil pastels. We're going to try to use them a little bit more this year as well, so keep them safe and have a great week.